the 1954 film Godzilla, and then in the 1956 film Godzilla King of the Monsters, and then in 1964's film Mothra vs. Godzilla. Godzilla is a very iconic kaiju, and although he's looked different over the years, he generally has the same structure and appearance for the most part. And then there's Shin. In Shin Godzilla, a more powerful and radioactive creature emerges that is able to produce atomic energy, just like the other Godzillas, but he seems as though he's less able to control it. Shin Godzilla's cells are also able to regenerate, which explains why he can shed parts of his body without dying or being weakened. If a kaiju bleeds, it's usually not a big deal in the Monsterverse or in the Godzilla universe, unless it's Shin. Everyone was grossed out by that scene, but the question is always asked, why does he bleed so much? Shin Godzilla is basically a malformed radioactive mass with severe mutations and burns. He's continuously in terrible pain. In his second form, we see one of the most iconic scenes from the movie, and one of the nastiest, which is the blood spilling from his gills as he walks. What is the reason for this? Well, the theory is that blood may have flowed from his gills because he hadn't yet been accustomed to being on land. And that is the earlier part of him just getting on land when we can see his blood spilling, which makes sense that he would be in a lot of pain and distress because just going on land is putting his respiratory system under a lot of stress. Remember, those big things that are spilling out all the blood are gills. Gills are tissue structures that resemble tiny threads of protein called filaments. These filaments perform a variety of tasks, including ion and water transfer, as well as the exchange of oxygen, carbon dioxide, acids, and ammonia. The gills basically push the oxygen-depleted water, or the water that no longer has oxygen in it, out through the apertures in the pharynx's side walls. It's basically like breathing, but with a filter. So since Shin Godzilla lived primarily in the water, his gills were fully formed, so to speak. And understandably, his gills would be under a lot of stress. Since he adapts very quickly, it's possible he might have been suffocating on land as he was regenerating. In endless pain, suffocating, but not really dying because his regeneration was keeping up with that, as he was trying to adapt and grow lungs to walk on land. That would cause a lot of bleeding. Also, there's a claim that Shin Godzilla's circulatory system serves as a cooling mechanism for his internal organic reactor. It's possible he was also expelling surplus heat by pouring out some of that hot blood. After all, walking on land after having been primarily a water creature for all your life basically, you're gonna get tired very quickly, and you're also going to generate a lot of heat and friction. So out went some of that hot blood onto land. As I just said, Shin Godzilla is always adapting and changing, so it's possible he could have been adapting these features to deal with being on land on the fly, literally as we were seeing him walk onto land. So eventually, his gills shrank when he changed forms and could finally breathe on land, resulting in the lack of blood in those forms. His blood is still used, it's still purposed for circulatory cooling, but they even use that against him in the movie. You'll notice that when he is hit by heavy artillery, he doesn't continue pouring out blood as he did in his earlier form because he's more adapted to living on land. However, the only other time we see him bleeding like that is in some deleted scenes where we see him utilizing his blood as a weapon. His third form was supposed to spew out a whole bunch of blood. This blood was supposed to be so hot that it would just melt everything, or acidic. I think it was heat because you could actually see it warping things and popping tires. And this is also a feature that he had adapted on the fly, being able to use it as a weapon and probably doubling as an agent to help cool his body further. Remember, he regenerates super fast. So him losing a lot of blood is not really a big deal because he can just regenerate a whole lot more very fast. If we vomited out that much blood, we'd be dead. Some real-life creatures can weaponize their body parts or aspects of their body just like Shin Godzilla can. An example of this is the hairy frog, Trichobatrachus robustus. The hairy frog can use his bones as weapons, and he can actually extend his claws. He actively breaks his own bones to produce claws that puncture their way out of the frog's toe pads, and he probably does this when he's threatened. Still, that's freaking terrifying. Breaking your own bones so you could be ready to use them as a weapon. Should have called him the Wolverine frog. Look, he's even got Wolverine's hairstyle on his frickin' sides. This is what a true sideburn looks like. The regal horned lizard is a creature that uses its blood as a weapon, squirting blood out of its eye as a repellent to predators who are messing with it. Honestly, I don't know why that would make predators run away, because if they like blood and you're literally basting their mouth with it, why would they not be like, thanks for the sample, I think I want the main course? You know what I mean? I'm sure they're probably like freaked out because they're not expecting that to happen and they're hardwired to think that's probably venom or something, but still, you can smell, right? After I jump back and get a safe distance, I'd be like, you know what, that kind of smells kind of cool. Or like ass, depending on what you like to eat. Another creature is a Spanish-ribbed newt, which pushes its ribs through its stretched skin, shifting them forward at an angle which causes a row of spikes to appear on either side of its body as a result. We don't have to look into cinema or very far to find some very strange occurrences on our very own planet with our animals that we're familiar with. Well, you may be wondering, but why? Why use blood? Well, I don't know about the other creatures, but in Shin Godzilla's case, since he's mutating so fast and since he has the ability to regenerate so quickly, it's probably the most plentiful, unlimited resource at his disposal to use. Why not? If you're constantly regenerating blood at a very quick rate, why not just use it for everything? For cooling, for defense, for attacking. I really wouldn't be surprised if Shin Godzilla ended up doing what Godzilla from Singular Point did, which is to weaponize and employ his blood as an active mechanism or device for dampening attacks or offensive attack. Just look at these sneaky tendrils that the creature's blood forms. It is definitely something Shin Godzilla would do, especially considering that Godzilla from Singular Point is very much like Shin Godzilla than all the other Godzillas. It's very curious to wonder what Shin Goji would have become if the film had just continued and we never did anything to stop him. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.